Good morning to everyone joining us from Europe, and good afternoon to friends and colleagues in Vietnam and in Asia. And a very special hello to all our speakers. Thank you for your time. Without you, we wouldn't be here now. So my name is Adina Golombek Tauyatswala, and on behalf of CENIT in Germany and the Enterprise Europe Network, I'm super pleased to welcome you all to our first webinar together, titled Vietnam in Focus, Opportunities for European Companies on Vietnam's Path to Smart Production and Smart Cities. You are all here today because you see potential in doing business in Vietnam. For some of you, Vietnam will still be something of a blank sheet, and others might have already started exploring the market. But my personal experience of having lived and worked in Vietnam for a number of years allows me to say Vietnam is dynamic and Vietnam is developing very fast. So our speakers today will shed more light on this. I won't keep you for very long, but I will just say a very few words about the Enterprise Europe Network that some of you are very familiar with and others aren't. So the Enterprise Europe Network is the world's largest support network for small and medium-sized enterprises with international ambitions. The network is co-financed by the European Union and comprises, you can continue the slides, and comprises of over 3,000 local experts in over 600 locations in more than 60 countries worldwide. I'm happy and very proud that network colleagues from a number of these countries are joining us today. A special welcome to you. Hi. We support companies by combining our international business expertise with local knowledge to take your innovations into new markets. And the network is both local and international. And why do I say that? Now on the next slide, you can see a very small number of the institutions all over the globe that work together to support you. And if you want to find out more, you can check out the network online and find your local contact point. So without much further ado, I will now hand over to my colleagues Adam and Han from the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Vietnam, our Enterprise Europe Network partner there, who will lead you through today's program. So should you have any questions during any of the presentations, please write them in the Zoom Q&A chat box, and we will try to answer them as we go along. But the Q&A session at the end will also give you the opportunity to ask more questions. The session will be recorded for future reference. And I will also post a link to the chat that will lead you to a brief feedback survey. So please be so kind to fill it in. And now, Adam, Han, the floor is yours. I'm looking forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adina, for this introduction. Indeed, we are very happy and proud to organize this webinar with our colleagues from EEN in Europe. So thank you very much for working on this project with us. Good morning. As you said, this was my catchphrase, but I will say again, good morning to everyone in Europe and good afternoon to everyone in Asia. A lot of people have joined us. I see that we have almost 90 people joining already. It's quite a lot when we know how many webinars are held during these special times. So thank you very much for joining. My name is Adam Koulaksesian. I am the director of the French Chamber of Commerce here in Vietnam. And as you may have understood, we are also the unique and official representative of EEN network in Vietnam. Can you just go back, please, before? Yeah. So, oh yeah, sorry, go 2 slides after. I will present first the chamber, if you don't mind, and then I will go back to the roundtable. Thank you. So yeah, the chamber in really 30 seconds, we are a member-based organization here in Vietnam, part of the 126 chambers in 95 countries, the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the world, and we gather more than 37,000 members worldwide. In Vietnam, we are here since 1989. We have around 300 members, a lot of collaborators, and we offer a full range of services to help European and French companies to establish and develop in Vietnam. We are also part of the EuroCham community. In Vietnam, the EuroCham community is around 1,000 members. So please go back to the presentation of the panel. So today, as you know, we will present two topics, basically smart production and smart cities. And I'm very happy and extremely honored to have gathered high level experts around the table. And I will present them very shortly. First with Mr. Mohan Naidu Gorjala, Managing Director of FPT Software UK. We also have Mr. Jerome Modolo, who is the Vice President and CEO of FPT Software France. So FPT, we will know more details about this company, but it's a great expertise and I'm really looking forward to it. Then we have the company Deep-Sea with Koen Soenens, the General Sales and Marketing Director from Deep-Sea Industrial Zones, a very important player in terms of industrial zones in Vietnam. And Tiffany Pham, head representative of the EU-US market in Vietnam for the same company. We also have Mr. Trinh-Vu, Business Development Director, Vietnam-Cambodia, for the company Schneider Electric. I'm sure everybody knows Schneider Electric, but I'm very happy that you know more about the activities and actions of Schneider Electric in the region regarding the today's topic. And last but not least, we are very happy to have with us Mr. Manh-Hung Tran. Mr. Manh-Hung Tran is an expert in intellectual property rights with BMVN International, with Baker and McKenzie. So a lot of experts. I'm very happy to have you today. And in terms of expertise, we also have my colleague Han Nguyen. Han Nguyen is in charge of all the department and service accompanying the European and French companies to Vietnam. And my colleague Han will give you a short overview about why Vietnam before more details regarding smart production and smart cities. Thank you very much and have a good conference.
Thank you, Adam, for the introductions, and hello everyone again. So I am Han Nguyen, the Business Support Manager of the CCIFV and also EEN Vietnam. Today with me, there's my colleagues Valentine and also Liana, who are supporting the business development and also supporting friends and European companies who want to set footprint in Vietnam. So since we have 1 hour and a half, so 90 minutes overall for this webinar, I would like to introduce to everyone just quickly some insights about Vietnam, why we choose to talk about Vietnam today, especially in the topics of Industry 4.0 with the development of smart cities and smart productions. So I would like to tell you the story of Vietnam, of course, with the remarkable economy evolution, as well as the factors that have made Vietnam one of the leading emerging markets in Southeast Asia today. Yes, please. Okay, so why Vietnam? So let's have a look back at the evolution of Vietnam since the foundation of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. A few days ago, on the 30th April, we are celebrating the Liberations Festival. I mean the public holidays, which mark the liberation of Saigon, which is Ho Chi Minh City today, on 75. The liberation of this city has led to has put an end to the Vietnam War and has led to the foundation of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam on 76. Since then, so the country have to wait for more than 10 years until 1986, where the government start to implement new reforms, literally called đổi mới, which means reconstruction and renovation. The reforms was aiming to increase economic growth by opening the markets, and since 96, Vietnam started to move from centralized planned economy to a more open market economy. So Vietnam is a development success story. Some may argue that the country could have done better, but you know, if you are living in Vietnam today and you see the current economic development of the country, and then if you are tracking back to the history, you can feel that Vietnam has done a pretty good job. So far, you know, rapid economic growth driven by the reforms of 1986 that led to a shift of the, you know, assets centralized, centrally planned market economy to a more liberalized economy markets to leave the country after war impoverishment situation. So the country, Vietnam, has started to join the World Trade Center, the World Trade Organization in 2007. Joining WTO in 2007 has increased international trade cooperation, and since then improved the position of Vietnam in the international stage. So overall, the đổi mới reforms, or the so-called renovation reforms, have set base to transform the country from one of the poorest in the world to a lower middle income nation by 2010. And over the course of time, of course, the country has seen more than 45 million people lifted out of poverty during the period of 2002 and 2018. And overall, the poverty rates sharply declining from 70% to lower than 6% as of today. So far, you know, over the course of time, the country has shown also resilience in the face of threats to macroeconomic stability in the region and also globally, with its average GDP maintained at 6% through to 2015, and also despite the COVID-19, the GDP of the country is expected to maintain or to expected to reach again 6.5% in 2021. So since 2019, Vietnam's economy has become one of the most open in the world, with new free trade agreements promising growth for the future. And especially in 2020, the signing of these free trade agreements has brought positive signals to the Vietnam economy, especially the free trade agreement between Vietnam and the Europe, the EVFTA, in taking effective in 2020. So right after the signing of the agreement in 2020, exports to the EU from Vietnam has reached 34.8 billion USD, right after 5 months since the day that the EVFTA has been implemented in Vietnam. So overall, the year of 2020 has been considered as a year of difficulties and challenges for the world economy in general, including Vietnam, because since March 2020, Vietnam has closed its borders, and so the industries of tourism in Vietnam and also aviation has been affected severely. So the world economy is forecasted to experience the most serious recession in the history with the arrival, with the pandemics of COVID-19. And internally, domestically, within Vietnam, natural disasters and epidemics has significant impact on the economic activities and the people's life. Unemployment and underemployment rates have been high, especially in the tourism and related industries. However, Vietnam's economy still maintained growth in GDP, which is about 2.9% in 2020, despite the COVID-19 crisis. So together with China and Myanmar, Vietnam is one of the 3 countries in Asia which has positive growth rate in this year. So despite many difficulties lying ahead due to the complication of COVID-19, of course, production, supply, and circulation trade, everything has been delayed or disrupted in a global scale. But this journey so far has making Vietnam one of the leading emerging markets in the East Asia region. And there are many factors that contribute to make Vietnam as one of the emerging markets in Asia, and especially in the Southeast Asia. But I would like to highlight 3 key factors in the next slide, because to share with you, so that, and of course later on, as I can see, our partners will go deeper into details when they are talking, when they present about the smart cities and the smart factories in Vietnam. But here are the 3 key factors that contribute to the economic growth in Vietnam. So first of all is Vietnam has become more and more attractive destination for investment thanks to the free trade agreements, thanks to its openness in trading. So far Vietnam have 17 free trade agreements with countries around the world, and it means that thanks to these free trade agreements, and of course thanks to many other factors, including the China-US world trade and also the China's Plus One strategy, Vietnam has become more and more attractive in the eyes of the foreign, of the FDI, of the investor, foreign investor. So in 2019, the FDI sector has accounted for 24% of the total investment in the country. And of course, this foreign direct investment has a lot of transformative impact on the Vietnamese population. So far, Vietnamese population is accounted for 97 million inhabitants, and more than half of them are under the year of 35 years old, under 35 years old. And we have an emerging middle class developing more and more, like stronger and stronger. So far, they are accounted for 13% of the population, and the middle class is expected to double by 2030. So attracting FDI investments is one of the key factors that contribute to the economic growth. Why? The reason is, first of all, it has helped the country to increase the GDP. The FDI also is a backbone for the manufacturing exportation. And also the FDI wave to Vietnam, or on the foreign companies setting base or develop their project in Vietnam, has contributed to improve the human resources capital in terms of quality, but also in terms of quality and quantity as well. And also and these 2 factors, FDI investment and young populations, dynamic populations, are correlated in a way, in a sense that thanks to the young population of Vietnam and thanks to the huge, massive population in Vietnam in comparison to other developing countries in Southeast Asia, of course, Vietnam has offered labor cost advantages. And because of that, it attracts more and more FDI or foreign companies to invest into Vietnam, into the Vietnamese market in general. Those 2 factors. So before leading to the 3rd factors, I just want to emphasize that, of course, FDI investment is good for the country, And also, you know, having a young population and dynamic population is also a benefit and a huge advantages for the country. But there are also the disadvantages and the inconvenience. FDI on one side contribute to the economic growth of the country, but on the other side, it has divided, or it has created or may be creating inequalities between Vietnam, between foreign companies and Vietnamese companies. So how to improve the capacities or the productivities of Vietnamese companies right within their country? I think the Industry 4.0s and everything related to smart productions has a lot to do to help the local companies to improve these parts. And then the last point with regard to the development of Vietnam is over 35 years from 86 to until today, Vietnam has switched from an economy highly dominated by agriculture to an economy dominated by industry and services. And since today we are talking more about manufacturing sectors, smart cities, and smart productions, I would like to stop here so that I can give the stage to my other partners to share further details into the topics of smart productions and smart cities. Where is the current state of Vietnam? And what is the development of Vietnam in terms of manufacturing industry? So please, Tiffany and Koen, I would like to, I give you the stage to keep on.
Thank you. Thanks. And hi to everyone. My name is Tiffany. I'm from Deep Sea Industrial Zones. So I will be very honored to be invited by CCIFV today to share our perspective to this very interesting topic. And I will start my presentation now, and Koen will join to sharing his insights and his ideas in the roundtable discussion later. So without no further ado, I will start now. Can you click next to the next slide, please? So I'm just gonna give a quick introduction to our company. So in Vietnam, more than 300 industrial parks. We are the only European managed industrial zones in Vietnam. We've been here since 1997, and we have in total of 5 industrial zones with total area up to 3,400 hectares of land available. Next slide, please. You can see the map here. Maybe this will be easier for you to visualize. We are situated in the highest growth city. One of the 2 highest growth cities in Vietnam is Hai Phong and Quang Ninh. We are fortunate to locate it in a very superior location comparativeness, as mean that we well connected to all the infrastructure development in northern Vietnam, relating to the road infrastructures, the port infrastructures, the airport, and such as. So it's giving a lot of advantage to our investors who are choosing Vietnam as their destination. So first of all, I would like to give you a bit of background to the change in this new infrastructure development and the new trend of ready-built factories. I think as you've been noticed that there has been a recent shift from supply chain from China, which has been known as the China +1 strategies. It has been happening for years since 2017. It's accelerated even more in 2020, which due to the COVID-19 is still happening now, as all of us, experience this very painful experience. So that is remind the manufacturer that there's very high risk for them to rely on a single supply hub in China. So next slide, please. So therefore, we see a clearly increase in the trend of supply chain shifting As you can see, Vietnam ranked 4th in terms of the attracting most inbound green FDI by value in 2018 by the report by Financial Times. As from the table here, Vietnam is leading in terms of attracting companies shifting from China to Vietnam comparing to the rest of the world. Therefore, and as we've been a front line of the investment, we have seen China manufacturing shifting even more clearly, and in fact, it changed Vietnam, especially in northern Vietnam. There's more high-tech company, especially in electronics industry, had decided to shift a large part of their operation from China to Vietnam, namely Foxconn from the previous slide. You can see Foxconn, Omnipers, Nintendo, Pegatron USI in our park, which forming an electronic cluster in northern Vietnam. So this change has reflected gradually shifting from traditional industries to more high-tech industry. So in the past, Vietnam widely known for being a prime location for textile industries. However, there's many other business areas are seeing significant growth, and especially is electronics. So Vietnam is on its way to become a key location for high technology manufacturing with companies like Samsung, LG Electronics, Nokia, Intel making multi-billion-dollar investment in the country, and other business also seeing high growth, such as the automotive and technology as well. So as you can see from previous slide, please. As you can see from the table, the electronics is still leading both in the export and import of Vietnam. And this shift is even backed by the government support and policies. As in its socio-economic plan, the government had reiterated that the digital economy and manufacturing are the priorities of the goal, and they hope to reach 45% from high-tech production for manufacturing and processing by 2030. Therefore, this shift in supply chains, next slide please. Therefore, this shift in supply chains has, from this big giant electronics company, has drawn their supply chain to follow them to Vietnam. So this specific supply chain usually contracted for a short period of time, and they have a high demand for a new modern tire factory or warehouse. What I mean by that is a new and smart factory that offers flexibilities, quality in a timely manner. Previous slide, please. So, previous slide, please. So you can see this the structure. They are using steel structure so that it can reduce the cost and increase the time, reduce the time to construction periods. The height is more higher now. And loading dock will have a mutable loading docks with available with hydraulic device. And for the floor loading is at least 3 tons per square meter. So as Deep Sea, we also following this new trend to develop our ready-built factory. Our workshop is higher. In the beginning, we provide both high and low workshop or warehouse, which means we insert the mezzanine floor into our workshop. So that is the temporary floor, so that in the long term, when the business no longer need this specification, we can remove it out to suit different need of the customer. So this is also showing our flexibility. And in addition to this, as the front line of the FDI movement, we also witness more and more FDI companies are focused on sustainability in terms of finding their partners. So we commit into our infrastructure development to follow this business growth orientation. Our workshop is, previous slide please, our workshop as certified with the LEED certifications. This is a green certification from the US Green Building Councils. And on top of our workshop, we install solar panel to generate green energy, and hopefully this one of our initiative by 2030, we can replace 50% of our electricity with or energy with the green energy. So apart from this ready-built factories developments, in terms of infrastructures in deep sea, we really focus to align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We focus on 4 pillars: environmental, resources, sustainable innovation, employee and society, and sustainable supply chains. So to give you guys some current development in terms of infrastructure in our zone, for our road in our park, we using the recycled plastic to build our road inside industrial zone. For our wastewater treatment plant, it's ISO certificates that we can treat the wastewater and reuse it for the watering of our nursery for our plants. On top of this, also our ambitions to become an eco park in Vietnam, and along with the goal of developing and sustainable energy with the green energy, with the wind energy and solar energy in Vietnam. So as you can see, this is the 4 of our pillars to align with the UNIDO's to become an eco park, the first 3 eco park in Vietnam. Yep, so this is a very short sharing, and I hope that is useful for the participants. And as we as industrial park developer with infrastructure, so we trying to catch up or follow with the future business orientation in terms of sustainability and also in terms of smart factories. Yes, and so I end my sharing now, and I give the floor to my next speaker, to Kevin.
Yeah, so hi, good morning from the to Europeans, and good afternoon to the one in Vietnam right now. I'm Kevin Trinh-Vu, in charge of the business development of Schneider Electric, Vietnam and Cambodia. To introduce shortly by myself, I'm French Vietnamese. I have been with the Schneider Electric for 9 years, and since 3 years I'm here in Vietnam. I have since in the last 3 years a very quick and growing of the Vietnam market in all of the segment, and especially in the industry. Today, I would like to transfer and the energy and the landscape, and about the potential and the heat and the energy here from Vietnam to you, to the one by the pandemic right now you cannot come to Vietnam, that you can feel the energy and the positive energy here and the potential. And with the network we have here in Vietnam of CCIFV and European network, we can help you to succeed in your business. So here the agenda here I would like to present is about Schneider Electric Vietnam at a glance, to talk about the big picture of Vietnam policy in regarding the industry, and how Schneider Electric can support with our solution to make the factory smart, and to share some success story. Vietnam, Schneider Electric Vietnam at a glance. Vietnam, here we have Schneider Electric. We have been here in Vietnam for 25 years. We have now about more than 1,000 employees in Vietnam, separating between offices, commercial offices. We have 3 offices in Hanoi, Da Nang, and Ho Chi Minh City, and we have 1 factory in Saigon High Tech Park. And we have, in the last 25 years, we have built a very big and large business partner in Vietnam, which composed by contractor, distributor, system integrator, panel builders, OEM, distributor, and industry automation distributor. And the market, you can see the main market that we have is is very diversified. We serve all the destination markets in Vietnam. So the biggest is still industrial and commercial building. After that, we have utilities and infrastructure as well, data center, industrial and machine, and residential. With the direct customer mix is between panel builder, distributor, contractor, and SI. And you can see in the bottom right, the evolution of our business here in Vietnam is growing year by year. Talking about the big picture of Vietnam and the industry goals. So you can see here in the table, the competitive industrial performance of Vietnam. We take this table from the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Okay, and so you can see in the table on the left side, Vietnam, where's the position of Vietnam belong among the 10 ASEAN members in terms of CIP. So you can see during the past 10 years from 2006 to 2016, the change of Vietnam ranking in terms of CIP is the biggest, 27 improvement of the rank among with other peers. So, and you can see that the country next to that, like Philippines or Brunei, or no, go back please. So staying in this slide. So you can see that, for example, like our neighbors like Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, that the one we aim to overcome them. The change in the last 10 years is very little. And Vietnam is 27 rank different. So you can see here is Vietnam, especially the government is very dynamic, and they are very decisive in terms of planning, in terms of strategy, and especially in terms of implementation of their strategy to make it real and make it quick. And the business environment of Vietnam is better and better every day, and it's more easy for everyone to grow their business. After that, in terms of total, in terms of global ranking, you can see the position of Vietnam is not far away from India, and we are doing better than South Africa in terms of CIP. Okay. Next, so here, you know, this one is the resolution number 23 from the central government of the Communism Party of Vietnam. So the central government of Vietnam in 2018, they issued the new industry policy. It's like a short and middle term strategy for the industry in Vietnam. And we define 6 goals until 2030 with a clear KPI. So number 1 is by 2030, the industrial sector will make up over 40% of the GDP, in which the manufacturing and processing industry will account for 30%, and the manufacturing industry alone account for 20%. After that, they aim for the high-tech product as well to grow and to reach at least 45% of that. After that, we want to have the added value of the industry, which will increase by over 8.5% annually on average, and the growth rate of the added value of manufacturing and processing will be over 10%. Number 4 is about the productivity. Very important in Vietnam about the labor productivity. Vietnam wants to grow as well. The labor productivity in the industrial sector will be in average 7.5%. And after that, number 5 is about the competitiveness industry performance index will be among the top 3 ASEAN countries. Okay, so this one, can you go back to the previous slide, please? So you can see here today, Vietnam is number 5 or number 6, but in 2030, but I think will be very soon. Okay, go back to the previous one, please. We will be number 3, so we will do better than Thailand or Malaysia even, and it will be just behind Singapore. Last year in 2020, the GDP of Vietnam is already we are making over more than Malaysia and Singapore already. Okay, in the ASEAN we are number 3, I think so. Okay, go next, please. So after that, number 6 is about workforce. The workforce in the industry and services sector will surpass 70%. So Vietnam wants to move quickly from the agriculture, fishing to the industry and services. So we see here in the big picture very clear KPI of the central government to make the industry policy moving to the industry 4.0. Next, please. So with the direction from Vietnam central government like that, how Schneider can support with our solution to make the factory smarter and to support the industry 4.0. So you can see here that Schneider we can help on every step of the value chain, okay, from the resilient supply chain to the efficiency facilities, and especially for the agile manufacturing. Next, please. And we leverage the transversal digital transformation capability in terms of different needs of the manufacturing in terms of safety and traceability, in terms of energy and sustainability to reduce the environment footprint and to meet the sustainability goals, to maximize the return on asset investment, to take your team efficiency to the next level, and to cut time, cost, and risk of the capital project engineering. Next, please. So here you can see our eco-structure solution. It's applied for everywhere of all the segment, and especially for the industry segment as well, to help your factory to have the agile manufacturing. So basically that we have 3 layers. The first layer is the connected product with all the product like PLC, camera, circuit breaker. It should be connected to the second layer, which is the edge control with our process expert in different solution. And after that, the third layers, it should be the apps, analytic and services. It will help the customer to monitor in real time what happened in the field and to collect the data and to give you the insight and with the action plan immediately to rectify and to adjust your manufacturing. Next, please. So we will help the industry to transform the operation to improve in terms of flexibility and profitability. So to meet the customer demand by increase the 10% the shipping efficiency, to deliver the right product at the right time, to save 25% in product giveaway, to up to 20% of the increase the plant throughput to drive the performance in real time, to optimize the resource usage by reduce 2% of the waste, and to up to 20% of the time faster than the time to market by reducing the design and support effort. Okay, so you can discover more solution of Schneider overall globally and here in Vietnam as well. We have different solutions in terms of HMI and data integration for the process control system as well, industrial information management, manufacturing operation management, and smart machine and robotic, and process automation. Next, please. So here I would like to share to you some real and concrete success story that we have here in Vietnam in manufacturing in industry. So the first one is with the company name TPA. It's an automation company. They serve to the end user, which is Unilever. Okay, so the customer challenge here we have is they want to have a better dental robot performance, which must be more reliable, and they want to have the comprehensive solution, including the service after sale. Very important here. Okay, not only the capex, but the opex as well. We need to ensure that, and they want to have the single trusted vendor to provide the multiple innovative technology. So with our partner TPA, we have provided to the end user Unilever okay, our solution with the 3-layer solution like that to provide the robot. Okay, one robot is they use it in the picking of the bottle in the supply chain in Unilever, and with the 3 layers of connected device, the ad control, and the app analytics. They have succeeded the project, and they are very happy with our strongly support in terms of OEM, okay, global and in the Southeast Asia, and they are happy with the investment in capex, and especially with the opex support for the after sale as well. That they can monitor in real time the robotic in the supply chain, and to take action immediately to adjust the production. Next one is the INSEE, okay, is a cement factory in Dong Nai province in Vietnam. So their challenge is they have the own next switchgear in the hazardous environment. So you know the cement factory here, especially in Vietnam, is humid, is very hot, and they want to maintain it, and they want to know in real time what is happening in the site, and if any breakdown on site, they can adjust, and they it will not have the impact on their factory, on the production. So we bring out the solution is to install the ambient temperature and the humidity sensor to connect with the protection relay as well, and with the innovative function to remote to do the remote monitoring switchgear, to provide a smart alarm and to view the data on the mobile phone anywhere. Okay, they have the Samsung or iPhone, they can see it on the mobile phone or on the tablet, and they can adjust and they can take the action immediately to call someone or to give the alarm to the technician on site to give and to correct the equipment on site. And so go back please, so we are associated with that because we have a good partnership with our partner here, and the customer, the end user INSEE, is very happy with the digital solution, and especially during the pandemic time like that, they want to have the contact-free solution. So this one, they are very happy with that. So to share to you some two of our success story in Vietnam. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. It's quite interesting to see what you guys are doing in terms of the technology implementation in the smart manufacturing, and to be honest, I mean, we do have a good experience as an FPT, how we really established a smart factory for a shuffler, and then plan to roll out to align with Industry 4.0 to really make the smart manufacturing become reality, which a shuffler has taken as an example to roll out globally to see how they can adopt the reality of the digital transformation in optimizing the way the factory operations can deliver. And starting from Vietnam, which is really impressive story to see the way of Vietnam growing in terms of GDP, in terms of ranking compared to the neighboring countries. And that is adding more from one perspective, but I think there is more importance coming in terms of smart cities, which is becoming a very hot topic everywhere, and why it is really needed, and what really changing in Vietnam in terms of conceptualization of smart city in last 3-4 years, what Vietnam has done, and what they're trying to do in future, and how the government is doing. So what I'm trying to give a little bit of understanding is and general concept of smart city is like people generally think smart building, smart mobility, energy, and online IoT is confused, right? Modern building and very good, look sexy, like in a tourist kind of buildings, right? And having a kind of common approaches, and people take, right? And finally, and people are trying to put some legal, there's a lot of gaps, right? And people are trying to put something in place. And so many things are happening in terms of smart cities planning, and what everybody wants to do it. But again, the problem what we see and what we also came up from our understanding of Vietnam and what is going on, and the technology is becoming critical, and to create advanced infrastructure, whatever is required in terms of to make everything is a smart, that kind of ecosystem that is required, right? And it was happening very siloed. And what we see recently, the shift has been focused. Collaboration, giving more focus around smart city is moving towards a citizen, right? If you go to the next slide, and the shift is little bit changed, and that shift is really helping to redesign the smart city, first to understand the need, whether it's a resident centric, whether it's a business which they want to set up, or what is their expectation. There is a cultural gap, and because you want to be a universal city, and you want to welcome people outside of Vietnam to come and live, but at the same time, the Vietnam does have some kind of an old infrastructure and the old livable style, right? And you need to bring both the new versus as old together. And there are some examples where Vietnam has learned from other smart cities, and especially in China and Singapore. They have built very good support premises. But again, it failed to attract citizens, and the reason some of the things have not worked out in smart cities because of the element of personalization to the person who is going to live, the culture aspect, and they overlook more from a kind of business perspective rather than a living perspective. And some of these things has really made realize Vietnam continue to rethink and what is a smart city meaning, and what developments they need to put in place, and what they've fundamentally what they redesigned is, okay, the three fundamental goals which they thought is, okay, they want to give an urban environment, sustainable urban environment, and provide high quality life for residents, and create a competitive economy, right? Unless you have some kind of a fundamental goals, what you want to build a smart city and what it means to the each and every individual of the country and also others, and you really cannot make the smart city success. And that drive for some of the areas to relook at citizen as the main way, and to see how they want to start building and giving a focus in a smart city development, and that could improve the systems put in place to residential experience, and that is what they're trying to do. Just to give an example, and I would just reading recently, there's a lot of consortiums are forming in Vietnam today. The companies from Japan, companies from other Asia companies, and even from Europe companies, which I will quote later. And they're forming a consortium and to really solve the social issues in Vietnam. And what they've taken the drive is the technology is becoming a primary drive to solve social issues. And the good example is Hanoi City with the Vietnamese and Japan companies, which they formed a consortium to bring multiple expertise, because one company cannot bring that expertise to build a smart city. So, which is a good news that, okay, there is a foreign investment which are showing an interest. There is a good support from the government, and there is a required infrastructure that the government is trying to provide in terms of the telecom, like getting a 5G, in terms of smart governance, in terms of a friendly business environment that they're creating to bring these consortiums and work with the Vietnamese companies and start building the smart cities. And that is what is happening today, what we see in terms of the shift that is taking place into the completely the new way of building a resident-centric smart city in today's in Vietnam, right? But again, what they're giving more focus is towards the smart energy, smart living, smart governance, and so on, and smart economy. This shift is really happening, and a few other things I would really to quote that. Especially in recently, I'm based in UK, and what I've seen is the UK government is, as part of their Asia Development Fund and funding program, they've asking experts in other fields to come up and provide guidance and what we should, as an UK, should do in terms of supporting Vietnam to build the smart cities. And there have been a lot of white papers published. And also, it's very amazing to see 2 years back, UK government also signed up on a MOU with on ICT to build a smart city program. So there are growing number of smart townships, and there is growing foreign countries to make MOUs to provide support to establish smart city. And there is the government is that the smart cities is the only way that any organization or any country can grow. And without having the technology, without having this, and it's a fundamental for a sustainability to live, right? So the key factors, what you see in the slide, is like resident centric, as I said, but at the same time, the social economic characters and the citizens in terms of what are the current challenges, whether it's the healthcare perspective, whether it's the traffic, whether it's the utilities, the water management, waste management, and more importantly, the security and the privacy. And to really to say that the way Vietnam has tackled COVID situation today, which is a good example to say how government is putting in a resident-centric approach, at the same time providing the security to not to impact the country, and also to make sure the investors will benefit it. And that is really helping today to believe and shift mechanism to de-risk the businesses that they need to go and invest in Vietnam. That will enable them to de-risk the strategy of whatever the investment made in other Asian countries, right? And that is a good example to say how it is moving. So in our perspective, residential centric, what is like a common vision is required, and because there are some areas is a siloed, but I think the common vision and bringing the different ecosystem and getting around people really to adopt what a smart city means, and the awareness to create, because unless people really understand the goal and agenda of smart city, and also the businesses and what are the investment you're going to put, it will take long term to achieve. And the good thing is the Vietnamese government has published a vision what they want to achieve in by 2025, 2030, and I think by next 5 to 7 years, and there will be few cities which will be called as smart cities within Vietnam. And they are prioritized in some areas like public services, transportation, which are the quick ones, which will bring more benefit to the consumer in that area. And they are really spending a lot of money in terms of ICT and technologies, like good examples that you heard in earlier presentations, right? Whether it's the Internet of Things, connectivity, the data perspective, the technology. And good to see that Vietnam is able to put a good program, and they're opening up the universities to bring more talent who can support. And the long-term perspective, I think by 2030, and as per the Vietnam government agenda, they will have completely integrated smart city with completely integrated the society with the services that each and every individual would like to use it, in terms of the e-governance perspective, in terms of to feel that they are safe, and in terms of to make sure and they get the better surveys from the different both from private and public sector. At the same time, the people business who are investing and into the manufacturing hubs, and I do see that a lot of industrial parks are also gearing up in terms of investing to build the smart industrial parks that will support more and more easy to adopt the way they want to invest in the digital transformation. With that, I really thanks for the opportunity and giving us to present a little bit about what we are doing, what we see in Vietnam, and there are more updates in the future we will provide in terms of our investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation, and we see all the connections between the smart cities and the smart production, indeed, with the path of the Vietnamese development. And so now we will go with the intellectual property rights in Vietnam within this context. So thank you, Mr. Manh-Hung.
Thank you, everyone. In a few minutes, I will cover what you can do in order to maximize your IP right in the smart city and smart production. So can you go to the next slide? Sorry. Right. So I'm not repeating what have been covered in this presentation, but I know what we can really do, maximize and optimize the IP right, including patent and design in order to make sure that you can make your production and smart city workable and efficient. Is to use some basic principle about patent and copyright and design. But again, in this presentation, I will focus more on patent and technology transfer. So smart production, I'm not repeating as I mentioned, it's just about conversion of the virtual and physical world. And when we talk about that, it's really an integration of many things like AI, machine learning, blockchain, cloud computing, big data. And we just heard from FPT speaker that, privacy, data privacy is also a big issue. And this made up Vietnam is working on the draft, personal data protection law. And that one is quite important for, smart city and smart production in the future. So in terms of the smart city, the common understanding is that, everything should be connected and optimized in smart city. Now we have a number of smart city projects in Vietnam, and we don't know how smart it is, but at least, they are trying to use some of the, innovation and technology like ICT and various physical devices connected with IoT and their network. So in very near future, what we heard from FPT and from Schneider, I think you will see how smart city and production will be workable. But again, for today, as I mentioned, I will focus on how you can identify your IP subject, like copyright, patent, design, trade secret, and trademark, and more importantly, how you can use our technology transfer and license in order to maximize, your smart city and smart production efficiency. Right. When we talk about smart factory and smart city, one of the key things we have to mention here is the patent and how we can patent thing that you can put into operation and optimize it. The key thing for patent is that, we have to make sure that you have something you can use in your smart city and smart factory. It will be innovation and invention. Can you go to the next slide? Next slide. Right. So talking about patent, talking about patent, we will talk about whether an invention can be registered or how can you use it, and commercialize it. As you may heard from the Vietnam News and VIR, our firm in Vietnam has been working with Qualcomm in order to support startup in Vietnam to file patent in Vietnam and US in order to make sure that they can commercialize or patent in future. So most of the patent we are working on now, supposed to be good for smart city and also for like wearable things or IoT. It's really important, for future development. So what do patent protect? Go back to the next last slide. So what do patent can protect? I can say that simply, it will be a technical solution. So patent can be in the form of products or processes, or in order to resolve a specific problem by utilizing laws of nature. So the types of patentable subject could be like invention or utility solution. So protection really need to be done if you have registration. So it means that, unlike copyright, in order to make sure that you have the patent rights, you have to register the patent with the patent office. And for example, we have Amazon, one-click buying, or Apple, iPhone, Google, PageRank, those that have been patented. Again, What subject may not be patentable under Vietnamese law and international patent law principles. It could be discoveries or mathematical methods or scheme of plans or presentation of information. Like today, my presentation is not patentable. It's not invention. It's not, it's not qualified to be a patent. Plant varieties would be subject to a different law, animal breed, or disease prevention or diagnostic or treatment methods for human or animals. So those are subjects are not patentable under Vietnamese law and also under the core principle of the international patent law and practice. Next slide. Again, what about the computer software? Very often when we talk about computer software programs, people will say that, oh no, it's not patentable because it can be protected under the copyright law. But again, we have to be careful in US and other countries. Some of computer program can be patented and patentable. So know that under the Vietnamese Science Technology Patent Examination Rule, it provides quite clearly that the concept of computer implemented invention can be patentable. So that is something that we have to consider. And the key thing is we can see some challenges for formality because IoT invention are mostly in tangible forms, while IP law define invention as technical solution in the form of a product or process. So this could be a challenge when we prosecute a patent before the Vietnam Patent Office or other patent offices. The software invention that is more abstract idle or claimed under the designation of computer programs or software might not be qualified for patent protection under the current practice and law. Again, software invention must be, claimed in the tangible form to be patentable. It could be like computer readable medium or storage medium. So as you can see that like Uber and Grab, right? So they are not only using a software. They are using actually it's the interaction between their software, the programs, with the server, the driver, with smartphone. So everything could be patentable if they put together as a technical solution. So next slide. So in order to be qualified for patent protection under Vietnamese law, again, there are three conditions. Number one, it needs to be an inventive staff. Secondly, it needs to be new, novel. Novelty is quite important. And the next requirement is to be susceptible of industrial application. It means it can be used for mass production. So those are the key three, requirements for a patent to be protected, and registered in Vietnam. Again, if your patent is not qualified for those three conditions, it's just like, it meets like novelty or susceptible of industrial application, and then it could be applied and registered as a utility solution. Next slide. So how to register a patent? So before I talk about this one, I have to remind everyone that, the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk has a guidebook on how to file a patent under PCT. We can, can help you to save costs and time under the PCT system. And then you check it out from the, Southeast Asia SME Helpdesk, and they can see, you can find that guidebook. But again, in the nutshell, there are two ways to do that. The key thing is you can do nationally. It means you can file directly with Vietnam IPO, Vietnam Trademark and Patent Office. If you live in Vietnam or your company, have production or trading establishment in Vietnam. Again, if you are not living in Vietnam, you don't have a company in Vietnam, and then you can file through an IP agent, like BMVN is one of the agents under the McKenzie. Otherwise, you can follow and file under the PCT, as I mentioned that, we have a guidebook, and that's publicly available, and then anyone can get access to it and have a look at that and see how it goes. Next slide. So now I turn to talk about technology transfer. So in order to function and make sure that you can use some part of your, smart city and smart production, you have to make sure that you have some sort of technology or patent. Patent has been mentioned, but now it's I'm talking a bit about technology. For technology, actually, one one interesting thing under Vietnamese law, patent can be expired after 20 years. And after that, anyone can use a patent which has been expired. But again, the know-how and any secret, we can trade secret can also be protected. So any know-how under the expired patent can be still considered to go with the technology transfer license. So this is quite interesting for anyone who have the patent expired, but again, you still have the know-how under technology. So technology transfer in Vietnam, first of all, it needs to be conducted from a writing contract agreement. Again, you can use our technology transfer to license to somebody in Vietnam who has a factory in Vietnam to use our technology transfer, or you can make it like capital contribution by way of your technology. Again, you can also franchise some of your know-how to franchisee in Vietnam as well. As I may know that in Vietnam many years ago, about 15 or 16 years ago, when we did not have a clear franchising regulation, so franchise were conducted under technology, transfer ordinance and decree 11. But I think that's quite interesting. Next slide. This is some comparison between special norms of technology transfer. You can see that for independent tech transfer and IP license, when you talk about technology, it could be solution, processes, know-how, not necessarily including IP, but for IP, we can talk about some moral rights or economic rights, like under the copyrights, or again, you can have the trademark and so on, you can license, but for technology transfer, simply speaking, it could be solution, know-how, or processes. Next slide. But again, when you have a technology and before licensing or transferring out of your country or to Vietnam, then you have to be mindful that these are the technology we are restricted from transferring to Vietnam. First is technology that are no longer popular in industrially developed countries. It could be like old-fashioned one or out of date technology is not transferable into Vietnam, or technology that use toxic chemicals or generate hazardous waste are not allowed to license or transfer to Vietnam too. Like technology that are employed to propagate or raise or cultivate new varieties which are not yet tested in Vietnam too, which will be restricted from transferring here into Vietnam. Next slide. Again, those are the technology which are prohibited from transferring, like technology that fail to satisfy regulation of laws on labor safety or sanitation, or like technology that are employed to create products adversely influencing on social economic development or influencing on national defense and security or social order or security. I think those are the technology that are prohibited from transferring to Vietnam. Next slide. So this is quite interesting. So when we talk about IP related to legal issues in 4.0 technology, and then we can talk about AI. The key thing is when the key question is whether AI can be an author of an IP subject within IP regulation right now. So as you can see that some of the AI, they start composing music. And the question is whether who is the author, the owner of the AI, the operator of the AI, or the AI itself. I think it's still unclear under Vietnamese law, and many countries' law is still quite unclear. So assuming that AI, when they create a technology or pattern that you can use in your smart city or smart production, and then they are infringing an IPR of somebody else, so who will take the liability? So the AI itself or stakeholders? I think this question is still unanswered. But right now, I can give you some 3 takeaway points before we go to Q&A and panel discussion. First of all, building an IP, filing an IP is very affordable. It's not like building a factory or production. It can take a fortune, but you can simply have your patent and file it and commercialize it. It's really simple. So for smart production and smart city, there will be a lot of patent involved in the whole process. So if you have something interesting, consider filing it and commercialize and license in future. The next thing is a mix of types of IP can provide robust protection. Like for example, like branding can be protected by trademark, the appearance of product can be protected by a design, and software code may be protected as copyright. As I mentioned, some software programs can be patentable if it qualify under the law, as I mentioned a while ago. So I think those are, you have to identify and file and make sure that you have your IP right before you license or commercialize it. And the last but not least, can you go back to the next slide, last slide? The cutting edge technology in the 4.0 era have been really challenging the effectiveness of the current IP legal framework globally. So not only Vietnam, but EU, US, Japan, and Korea, and I think the other countries are also dealing with the challenging that we are mentioned here, like how to deal with the AI, the authorship and things like that, the ownership of things created by the technology. So those are the three key takeaways that I would like to mention here, but we are happy to go to panel discussion and take more questions from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Adam, your turn.
No, Adina, I just wanted to thank all the panelists and to say that it's always a challenge to try and cover all these different topics regarding a very hot one. I'm sure we have a lot of questions. Maybe Adina, you'd like to start. I had different questions from participants, but please please let me know, Adina. Okay.
No, also from my side, to all the speakers, thank you very much for your valuable insight. Yeah, we've received a few questions, so I will just start posting them. One has been answered already. So we have a question from Germany to FPT. In Vietnam, your presentation shows a lot of focus on ICT, and somebody wants to know more about the situation of the water industry. Are water topics, for example, water supply, drainage infrastructure network, wastewater treatment, also under the scope of smart cities? Mohan, can you answer that question for us?
Either Mohan or Jerome, Modolo, you can decide, because at the round session there is Jerome Modolo from FPT Software branch France as well.
Great.
Yeah, I can answer. Yeah, globally, yeah, smart water is part of and maybe essential in the smart cities, as the harvesting side, collecting and distributing and delivering the water to the consumer, but also providing all the sensors, the quality, the metering, all that information at the both side from the city that collect, and depending on the city and the country, that collect and distributing in fact the water, but also from the consumer side to follow the quality time to time. So predictive analytic, AI, machine learning, IoT, cloud, all those data are becoming more and more, I would say, important, because that provide even smart application. You know what you are consuming, what you will consume based on the open data on the weather. So everything is connected and is a central point from the smart city, yes, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerome.
Then we have a question for Deep Sea. To what extent is Vietnam a good place to develop activities concerning smart production? So is now a good time?
I will answer that one if you allow me. So indeed, we strongly believe that it's the right time at this moment, and we can see this very clearly from the from the growing interest from investors, both local and overseas investors, who want to expand or start their investments in Vietnam within our industrial zone. Now, if Vietnam wants to remain a important manufacturing hub in Asia and actually worldwide, it's really essential that they, that they apply the Industry 4.0 guidelines or applications. So to keep the industrialization in Vietnam on track, a couple of years ago, the government has issued an action plan, which actually sets out a national industry standard. And one of the elements is that Vietnam and the industry should be ready for Industry 4.0 by introducing, the relevant technologies that were presented previously, Internet of Things, blockchain, artificial intelligence, all kinds of cloud-based applications, and so on and so forth. All technologies that are promising and that will optimize production processes. And that is actually what overseas investors are expecting when they come to Vietnam. They will obviously rely on the existing local Vietnamese companies for the supply of components, for instance, and they expect that these companies will adopt to the most modern technologies in terms of automation and so on and so forth. So this national program, aims to bring Vietnam or turns Vietnam into a digital society in the next maybe 5 to 10 years. And ultimately, it will allow especially Vietnamese companies to improve their operational efficiency. It will allow them to invest more in all kinds of innovation in technologies, and it will also help the local Vietnamese industry, in the transfer knowledge with overseas investors coming to Vietnam. So the question is the timing right? I mean, the timing is always right. It's better to adopt early than being too late. But looking at the very clear ambitions of Vietnam, I think the momentum is there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Adina, Kevin speaking. Yeah. So I don't know if I can add on some information on the response from.
Feel free, Kevin.
Yeah. So first, regarding the question of Chile. About the water waste segment, so we had already the response from Mohan. I would like to just add on about this segment here. First, we are the strategic partner of FPT globally and here in Vietnam as well. We collaborate on a lot of projects. And second, here in Vietnam, Schneider, we are very present in the water industry, water waste as well. We provide a lot of smart solution for the water segment in Ho Chi Minh City, in Bình Dương, in Hanoi, in Da Nang as well, to help to reduce to optimize the OPEX and to reduce the CAPEX as well with our solution. Second question for Deep Sea about the good place and right time for the developing the smart production. So like Mr. of Deep Sea, sorry I forgot your name. But when asking about the right time, the good time to develop the smart production or smart solution, it means we are late. We are already late. We must be in advance. We should not wait for the good time. And here, with my own experience here for the last 3 years in Vietnam, and we have a lot of partners. We serve a lot of end users here in Vietnam for the smart factory, smart solution. Vietnamese factory, Vietnamese people, they already develop their own solution for smart production and for smartphone manufacturing here in Vietnam. And from European investor or our European solution, we must take in advance and be faster and take more bold decisions to implement our smart solution here in Vietnam. Otherwise, we may be late in that.
Okay, thank you so much for your input there. So now I still have, looking at the time, we don't have that much time left, but I still have two questions for our colleague from the IPR Helpdesk. So the first one is regarding the protection of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, 3D printing. Is it easy to protect inventions using such technologies in Vietnam?
Right, thank you for the question. Simple answer is technology. For technology, you don't have to register in order to enjoy protection. Technology means your know-how, you keep it and make sure that you have the protectionable measure to make sure that it's not accessible by anyone and it becomes your know-how and you can license it. So simply speaking, technology is not patent, so you don't have to apply for registration and you can make sure that you protect it and license or cite the patent, the technology.
All right, and the second question, somebody's asking for some basic tips or major issues to check when drafting a technology transfer agreement with a Vietnamese company or entity. Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I knew that question came from Robert. So thank you, Robert, for that question. I started drafting the first technology transfer contract back in 1997, and over 20 years, I have done so many. And I think this is some of the key tips for you to consider. Number one is the exclusivity. Whether you want to make your license exclusive or non-exclusive, that's important because very often if you are not careful in drafting that provision, then Vietnamese, when we are working with this Vietnamese company, and then it will become troublesome. Secondly, I think the development of technology is very important. So you have to make sure that you agree, negotiate with your licensee or technology transferee about how to deal with any advancement and development of your technology. So it will be who will own that new development. That's important, and that actually causes a lot of potential dispute if that provision is not well drafted. And thirdly, I think dispute resolution. Many even lawyers, they still make some mistake. That for cross-border transfer technology license assignment, you really have to use arbitration because Vietnam is the New York Convention member, 1958. So if you use a foreign court like German court or UK court, I think the chance to enforce the court's verdict in Vietnam is like very slim. If I can say that, it's like impossible. So arbitration is much more preferred. And governing law for cross-border, you can use any international law, and not necessarily Vietnamese law. But again, the next one is for technology transfer contract, it needs to be made in Vietnamese and English. So to make sure that the contract is well understood by your transferee or local licensee to avoid any dispute. I think those are one of the key tips. But I can sit down to you and talk about for hours about you have a good contract.
That I can imagine. That's your job. Thank you so much. Looking at the time, I think the last question that I would like to post, and then I think all other questions that are still coming in, we can answer them sort of via email to the participants. But I think what would be interesting is the last question. In your experience, what are the sort of what is the biggest pull and push factor for the development of smart cities in Vietnam? Is it the Asian Development Bank? Is it government? Is it the local government in terms of municipalities? Is it the consumers or industries? Who is pushing most for the development of smart cities in Vietnam?
Yeah, I think I can quickly give that. I think it's everyone, I would say that. Right, and there is a necessity to have smart cities, and for various reasons. It's not just to give. The future of the country. The economic growth is depending on every government smart city and the digital transformation agenda. So the government is taking a big lead in this initiative. I think if anyone can do the Google Vietnam and smart cities, and you can see every month there is a news and some smart city, some investment, some adoption, and some pilots is going on. So to be honest, is everyone, but I think it is more to the government who is driving this today and trying to put all the legal frameworks and the data privacies and other things in place, and so that this can be met by 2030.
Thank you, Mohan.
We have maybe one last question. I see it's a recommendation for someone is asking a recommendation for a carbon footprint calculator that would include Vietnam-based data, particularly related to food, if possible. Maybe some of you around the table might have a tip on this. If yes, you can also come back to us, and we'll forward the answer. And maybe one last question. It's a large one, but I received a few people ask these questions, and it's regarding the 5G. So we talk a lot about 5G in Vietnam, and it's maybe the tip of the iceberg. Somehow it's quite easy to see it and to read articles about it. And the question might be, how is it a good indicator of Vietnam's development toward a smart city and smart production, to see the implementation of this 5G in Vietnam? Maybe FPT might have some clue, but the others as well.
I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try, because what I've seen 5G, not just Vietnam, in wider perspective, right? It's a new thing, and people are exploring, and people are trying to understand. Okay, what does the 5G mean? What the telecom is provide the connectivity, the speed, and time to access. But what is missing out is the different companies and participating and bringing things together. Try to understand, like, it's more driving towards IoT. Right, and to become in a smart cities, the reality, or even to the next extent, the smart factories, and especially for the industrial park zones, 5G is very critical, and that will enable them to capture the real-time data that is required to provide the real-time experience to the end consumer. So right, and that is a challenge, and to make that challenge is not just infrastructure. I think the various private and public sector has to collaborate together, and to create that kind of and identify that kind of an experience that is required, and what problem they're trying to solve, and what benefits that end user is going to get, and what does it mean to their own business. So unless these things are glued together, and which takes some time. And I've seen some companies who are putting that 5G innovation, 5G frameworks, and trying to bring the big data, big data lake, to connect and start collecting the data from different sources, and then they think, okay, what I'm going to do with this, right? So it's a journey, and there is no silver bullet answer today. But I think once people really understand the technology, the need, and where is the money, I think it will become more reality. That's my little bit view, but others, please do.
Thank you, Mohan. So if there is no further question or no further comment, I would like to thank everyone for their participation this morning in Europe and this afternoon in Asia. So thank you all very much to the speakers, and thank you all for your participation. And I hope this wasn't the last webinar of this sort. So I'm looking forward to a second edition with our colleagues from Vietnam.
Thank you, Adina. It's great. And again, a big thank to you, bringing also awareness on Vietnam, and a big thank to our experts, because we had a lot of expertise around the table today. It's always too short. It's always too short. So please do not hesitate to contact directly our experts, or go through Adina or CCIFV here in Vietnam to know more, to discuss further all these very interesting topics further in details. Thank you very much, and hope to
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.